Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? Okay, so you have your script. You ready to record? So now what? Anchor, a podcasting platform, can come to your rescue. I use it for my podcasts because of the ease of having Anchor distribute my episodes on other podcasting platforms, such as Spotify and Apple Podcast. It's a free platform with its own creation tools that make it easy for you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And the best part? You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Now that's a good deal. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Anchor.fm is everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place. And now, on with the show. On this episode of Two Takes, I've decided to do something different. Although the general theme of this podcast is films, with the analysis based on theories and insightful facts, would you say the same for a game? It is said that a game has a whole universe in itself, with a story that has the viewer revelling in it, either by choice or by motivation. Some games are better than others in captivating the concept of making a whole universe in itself with facts that connect the dots, and some creators, with their dazzling imagination and ability, have made this possible. Suffice to say, Hideo Kojima has done that. This is Two Takes, and this is One Shot, a 2-episode analysis of Death Stranding. Episode 1, The Spectral Earth. For those who have not played the game, or in the process of doing so, rest assured, this podcast is about the world within Death Stranding, rather than a storyline, but be warned, spoilers might happen. The spectral earth, the concept of the living and the dead becoming intermingled, where the borders are blurred and overlapping seems to be a prominent thing, even a devastatingly dangerous one. But we have been aware of this, have we not? Through the many trailers left in the waiting period of this game, theories have come to light about whether it was beings from another planet or entities from a different plane of existence. The latter has become the right one, even if it means a world full of spirits. So what happened in the world of Death Stranding? Throughout the game, the further you venture into the storyline, the more information you can grasp together to get a better understanding of what has happened. And with that information, as well as various other types of research, I have found an approximate storyline within our own history that Kojima has taken and made his own. Therefore, there will be links from our world to this spectral one. At the beginning of the game, we hear Sam say this. Once there was an explosion, a bang which gave birth to time and space. Once there was an explosion, a bang which set a planet spinning in that space. Once there was an explosion, a bang which gave rise to life as we know it. And then came the next explosion, an explosion that will be our last. Let's look at each comment as 4 points. The first being that an explosion gave birth to time and space. This is the direct reference to the Big Bang and the creation of the universe around 13.7 billion years ago. The second, a bang which set a planet spinning into space, is referencing the act of supernova, a death of a star, and the dust from it that collides within itself, creating planets and eventual life. Through the death of stars comes new life. The third comment, a bang which gave rise to life as we know it, goes further than the creation of a planet, but the evolution of the major groups of animals that first appear in the fossil record. This time period, because of the acceleration of the evolution in such a short space of time, was coined the Cambrian explosion, and thus is in the third explosion that Sam talks about. The last one, the next explosion that will be our last, is referencing what is going to happen with the universe of Death Stranding, an explosion that will eventually come and tip the balance of life and death on the earthly plane, its importance being compared to that as the Big Bang. This explosion is inevitable, by Sam's reference to this being our last one. What is not explained is how or why. But the moment of came the next explosion hints that it might have already happened before the player begins the game. It is during the conversations the main character Sam has with Hartman, another character, that it is explained and theorized in more detail. Hartman essentially theorized that the Death Stranding has happened at least 5 times in the past. What he's referencing is the 5 major mass extinctions, a real-life thing that happened on Earth to which Kojima has referenced in his universe. A mass extinction in itself can be defined as a time period in which a large percentage of all known species go extinct, with the causes differing or overlapping, such as climate change, geologic catastrophes, or even meteor strikes on Earth's surface. Here's some history. The first major mass extinction was called the Ordovician mass extinction. It was in the Ordovician period of the Paleozoic era, around 440 million years ago. The first known life forms appeared about 3.6 billion years ago. By this period in time, larger aquatic life had come into existence. This mass extinction unfortunately happened in 2 waves, the first being the encompassing of the Ice Age. Sea levels lowered, and many land animals that were used to shallow waters near where they lived could not adapt fast enough to this sudden change. The second wave happened when the Ice Age finally ended, but it ended so suddenly the ocean levels rose at an alarming rate, too quickly to hold enough oxygen to maintain the species that survived the first wave. It was then up to a few surviving aquatic autotrophs to increase the oxygen levels so new species could evolve, meaning population unknown in new territories. The second, named the Devonian mass extinction, the Devonian period of the Paleozoic era, around 375 million years ago, followed the first mass extinction rather quickly. Because of the first wave of the first mass extinction, with many aquatic plants adapting to live on land, this led to fewer autotrophs to create the oxygen needed for all of the sea life, leading to mass death in the ocean. The plants' adaptation to land also had a major effect on the carbon dioxide available in the atmosphere. By removing much of the greenhouse gases so quickly, temperatures plummeted, leading the second wave in the second mass extinction. This second wave is still being theorized as to what happened, with the guesses leaning towards mass volcanic eruptions and some meteor strikes. The third, called the Permian mass extinction, about 250 million years ago, was an estimate of eliminating 96% of all living species, coining the name the Great Dying. Some believe this happened due to massive volcanic activity paired with asteroid impacts that sent deadly methane and basalt into the air and across the surface of the Earth, causing a decrease in oxygen that suffocated life and brought about a quick change in the climate. The Triassic-Jurassic mass extinction was the fourth one. This happened approximately 200 million years ago at the end of the Triassic period of Mesozoic period. In this extinction period, it was a combination of many smaller extinction events in a short space of time. There was volcanic activity with the release of carbon dioxide or sulfur dioxide, which would either cause intense global warming from the former or cooling from the latter. Either way, it caused climate change issues such as the change in sea levels and possibly pH levels in the oceans. It is questionable, still, as to whether it had caused global warming or another ice age after this extinction, but in essence, meteor strikes on the Earth's surface also caused a major impact, to which one became the superior. The fifth mass extinction, the KT mass extinction, best known for the elimination of most of the dinosaurs. At the end of the Cretaceous period of the Mesozoic era, about 65 million years ago, huge space rocks hit Earth and sent debris into the air, effectively producing an impact winter that drastically changed the climate across the planet. Now you know the 5 mass extinctions. Why did Hartman theorize and connect these to Death Stranding's universe? Because of the discovery of umbilical cords that were connected to these extension entities. An extension entity, EE, is a living being whose purpose is to bring about mass extinctions, and is the bridge to which Death Stranding occurs. The umbilical cord is a literal metaphor for this, and this will be explained later. Throughout the world of Death Stranding, it is said that 5 EEs, the Big Five, are believed to have lived and died, each being the cause of a prior mass extinction on Earth, linking to Earth's 5 mass extinctions, resulting in significant changes to the world's biodiversity. From archaeological findings of the prior strandings, the previous EEs may have been a woolly mammoth, a Neanderthal, a dinosaur, and a tribulite. Not in that order, of course. Each EE corpse was discovered to not have suffered biological decay and possessed an umbilical cord similar to BT's, another thing to be explained later. EEs may not need to act in any particular way to fulfill their function. Their existence in itself may simply be a crystallization of the forces that underlie the Death Stranding, the point at which the living world and the other side begin to spill into one another, which has already happened within the world Sam is in. EEs cannot go winningly against their purpose to cause a mass extinction, but can seemingly bend the rules to delay or lessen the extinction event. It is revealed that the previous EEs had the power to end all life, but each choose to let live prevail in the end due to their own attachment to the living world. Ultimately, it is theorized that EEs are a natural part of the cycle of life and death. Each entity's Death Stranding altered the world in such a way that in the wake of death and destruction, new life forms emerged and were able to flourish. Comparing the real 5 mass extinctions to the Death Stranding's explanation of theirs, it can boil down to the same aspect that death is never truly in our hands. Whether it's earthly climate change and the survival of the fittest, or the chosen path of the entity that has begun to love life but cannot stop their purpose, it is the saddening and realistic fact that we are all going to die. But, is death truly the end? In the world of Death Stranding, it is understood that the line between the living and the dead is essentially a blurred one, if not a collision of the two worlds. BTs, named beach things, entities whose souls are from the deceased, and come into existence when that soul fails to cross through the beach, a corridor or path if you will, into the world of the dead, consequently become stranded in the world of the living, with their connection to the other side maintained through an umbilical cord. The bridge between life and death. The Death Stranding occurred concurrently with the first recorded sighting of a BT by a doctor performing a caesarean section on a brain-dead mother. Why this performance that created this beach thing? It is understood further in the story that it is because of BBs, or bridge babies. It is an unborn fetus that has been taken from the brain-dead mother to be used as equipment by Bridge's operatives. The fetus is placed into an orange liquid in a glass-like container, a portable pod, that can grant operatives the ability to sense and detect BTs when physically connected. These portable pods simulate the conditions of a still mother's room, which is updated periodically. There are some conversations within the game that remind the user that it is equipment. However, this is difficult to comprehend, as it is a living being. The connection from this fetus being born in this position gives them the edge that the living can use, hence the name of it as simple equipment. From further exploration of entities, BTs are considered extremely dangerous and are almost invariably hostile towards living things. They are dangerous in a normal sense, such as they are otherworldly beings that try to kill you, but also in the sense the bodies of a BT contain antimatter. They are presented as flickering black matter that eventually takes the form of something that looks like human dripping in tar. It comes to the theory that they cannot see the living, but rather listen to footsteps and breathing when hunting. They float up to 10 feet from the ground, connected by a shimmering black umbilical cord. When hunting, they drop down, becoming invisible with only their human handprints being shown on the ground, being filled with tar in each one. If they find the source of the noise, the ground becomes tar, and many black human masses emerge and drag you down to the depths. It's at this point, the collision of the matter of a living thing with a BT made out of antimatter that triggers a void out, a massive explosion capable of destroying everything in its wake. In the universe of Death Stranding, this is commented upon, showing cities to be destroyed because of these void outs. Therefore, in a world in which you can die by coming into contact with strangely formed black antimatter, to your soulless body after a certain amount of time, to be able to cause an explosion can emphasize that death is not the final act. It is a difficult world to live in, where a wrong turn or a wrong decision can become the responsibility of others to take care of your body. If not, then your life is stuck between worlds, and the end that was wanted or unwanted will never cease to be. There will be no end, but this long, purgatory-like existence between two worlds. Cremation of the body before it turns into a BT is the best course of action for this to be stopped. However, understanding the first part of the game, this is unfortunately not always done. To get a better understanding of the link between the world of the living and the dead, there is a constant inclusion of the words "the beach" within the game. And like I said before, in essence, it is like a corridor or a path from one world to the next. The understanding of those words used, rather than any other physical place, is because it's seen as a border or a transitioning point, like land to sea and life to death. This can be referenced to other various films such as The Discovery 2017, of how people see flashes of people, much like the flickering of a BT, and perhaps a transcendental place that is open and wild. It can be debated as to why people discuss this afterlife, and describe it much like a tunnel. However, a beach, with its never-ending coastline, can be soothing, giving the person the time to wander. The sea, though calming on the surface, can perhaps be seen as alive, gripping someone to its depths. Not a calling per se, but more like a journey, one last hurdle before the afterlife. What is so fascinating is that within the world of Death Stranding, there is more than one beach. Overall, each person has their own beach, unless a void-out happens to which a large population of people share one beach to get to the other side. This can be said for times of war when many people die at the same time. The beach does not experience time and acts as a sort of limbo. It is a manifestation of mankind's consciousness and their personal conception of death, and as such, the beach is a phenomenon common to all and unique to each human. Each beach, if not shared, is personal to that person, giving form by their thoughts and set of beliefs. If it is shared, such as people that died in a war, then there are mixed feelings and emotions that stem from a want or a need for something, and therefore they follow the same actions in their last moments over and over. The beach is often described as a multiverse, and as all sorts inhabit a personal beach, in contrast to the land of the living, where everyone's physical body inhabits the same universe. In this essence, no other animal can manifest a beach, only human, and they therefore do not decay and form a BT. This is quickly presented in the very beginning of the game, by showing birds and deer to be running away, still getting killed. Understanding the concept of BTs and beaches, its creation was based on the antimatter Corellium, particles that ignored time and were born in the same way our universe was. We just never saw it until the Death Stranding. The word chiral comes from the Greek word kia, meaning hand. Do you remember me explaining about the BT's hunt? They are shown by their hands. Another aspect of this is when they are pushed into the other side, the land of the dead. They leave something behind, one or both chiral hands modelled out of what looks like golden crystals, pointing upwards almost in a plea, perhaps indicating the yearn to forge a connection with us in the living world. Chiralium was also found in the mineral Bridgemite in the lower part of the Earth's mantle. It comprises of 38% of the Earth and usually very hard to find. It was found and researched, however, by a meteorite before the Death Stranding. It is said that Chiralium absorbed into the mineral at the moment of the Earth's creation, and this could perhaps explain the tar that bubbles up from BT handprints and in unexpected places on the Earth's crust. It links Chiralium on many levels to this world from the very beginning, and in a way, it can be said that the heart of a planet could be likened to the world of the dead. We are closer to death than we think. Knowing the beach and what it manifests, we can now understand the concepts of beach things and why they are stranded. But what does that really mean, the word stranded? Especially when it comes to the title, Death Stranding? If you look at all the meanings, they all possess a certain importance in the main story arc. Being stranded is when you are isolated without means of transportation, the idea that you cannot go home. Stranding means washed up on the shore. Ships do this, and if you haven't seen it already, whales and dolphins strand themselves on the beaches, commonly called crustacean stranding, due to dehydration, collapsing under their own weight, or drowning when high tide covers the blowhole. And a strand refers to something thin, like a wire or fibre, that together can form a rope or bond. BTs are stranded in a living world because their strand, their connection to the world of the dead, the final resting place, has been severed. Stranding is what is happening in the essence of death. You die, and you are stranded between worlds. It is the act of the void-outs. And the strand, the thing that can connect them together. Sam's strand, for one, and his journey west. And the dead with their journey west to the land of the dead. This aspect, as well as others, will be further explored in Episode 2, The Journey West. If you enjoyed what was said, please follow me on Anchor and Spotify. Be kept in the loop for new episodes by following my Instagram. And if you have any questions, email me at twotakespodcast1@gmail.com. And as always, thanks for listening.